Let's move on to this big story as well this week. The National Transport Movement says it's over for South African Airways. This after it held a meeting with officials from the Public Enterprises Ministry. Let's chat about this now with the National Transport Movement President, Mashudu Raphetha. Mashudu, good morning, and thank you so much for your time. So it seems like you have a very different message from your peers, the likes of NUMSA and SACA, when it comes to the outcomes of what you've accepted coming out of this meeting. They say that talks are still happening, but you seem to have accepted the idea that it is over. Can you explain just your difference of views there?
Thank you, and good morning to the viewers out there. I think let us correct the situation. The fact is that I have not seen the different views from what SACA and NUMSA are doing, but I will be talking on behalf of NTM. What is currently happening is that we have been engaging with the minister for the view of finding a solution to avoid liquidation and so on. So we have indeed engaged them yesterday, and it is quite clear that SAA in this current form is no longer going to be the same SAA that we have. The idea of the new airline, it affects our members because we need to then be vigilant when our members move into the new airline with regard to the conditions. But I think we have accepted the fact that we have been fighting and from all the angles, and the struggle continues.
Well, the difference of view then is that NUMSA and SACA, Mashudu, say that they are wanting to find, in their words, the most optimum solution to SAA and SA Express's current challenges, with a view on ensuring their continued existence. So it seems that they are wanting to find a way for these airlines to continue in order to protect their members as well. So the difference is you seem to have accepted this, but you are still dealing with the issue of severance package deals.
Let me also state it clear that in our key initiatives that we have submitted to the department since last year, we have been in the forefront to say the merger between SAA and SA Express can only be the solution to save our members at SA Express. What is happening at SA Express is very painful, and we are very much disappointed that currently they've got 2 months without getting salaries, and this is the only solution that should we go into merger and then into a new entity, at least they will be able to save their jobs. And the fact that we have accepted the fate of this airline going on to the hammer, let me say to you now, the airline in this current form, even if a South African government is to give it 10 billion, half of those monies are going to the pilots over green agreements. I mean, the severance package for the pilots is sitting at about 1.8 billion out of 3 billion that is being discussed. So you can already see that the big elephant in the room is not being touched. And the idea of forming the new airline from the government, we welcome it. And unfortunately, we couldn't save this glorious airline. We loved it so much. But we know that our members will be positioning themselves into the new airline, and we will await the process from the minister. And we cannot then waive our rights in negotiating the best severance packages, because otherwise, if we do that, our members will go with nothing. Our members, some of them have got 40 years, 30 years. Yeah. They definitely deserve the severance packages.
And Mashudu, to that point, we have NUMSA and the Cabin Crew Association urging their workers, their members, not to sign what they are calling a death warrant agreement. But what are you going to be telling? What are you taking to the table in order, like you say, to get the best possible deal for your workers? And it's just very different views. I mean, them calling it death warrant agreements, and you're saying we are going to work for the best. How are you approaching the issue of severance packages?
On the part of SACA and NUMSA, it is very unfortunate that they've decided to run away from the process, and they term this as a death warrant. They should be matured enough and look at severance packages, because the BCA proposes 1 week. We are not going to go away from the table if we are seeing that there's going to be a new airline. We are not that naive. And we know the fact that it's not for the first time. I mean, they went out on strike saying they won't sign. They came back and signed for the same 5.9%, which they never got it even to date. So we're not going to mislead our members just like they do. And unfortunately, I have been providing leadership with my team, and our members are conscientized, and our members know that we're still engaging. We want to endeavor to ensure that we remove the clause that talks about sales of assets. We don't want the assets of SA to be sold. These assets must be transferred into the new entity. Therefore, we are appealing to the government to provide this 3.2 billion for severance packages. Then they start a new airline afresh. They would have addressed the pilots agreement, which are very thorn to this airline. They will also address some of the contracts that are questionable. You cannot have a situation where some employees have got 180 sick days leave, some have got 65. You cannot have a situation where people have allowances. Overtime for pilots, for instance, can be 14,000 for 7 hours. It doesn't make sense. So what we are saying is that we are going to engage. We're not going to waive our rights and run away. We're going to engage to ensure that we get the best deal in terms of the severance pay.
So, Mashudu, just clarify for me. You say you've asked them to make that amount available for severance packages, but you're also confident about the creation or the emergence of this new airline. So where does that leave your members if they do sign the severance packages? Just explain to me. I'm not too familiar with the process as to if they sign this, yes. Do they stand to be rehired? Do they stand to get those jobs back when this new airline comes about?
What we're doing is that remember we are meeting today at 2 o'clock, the opportunity is that, one, we have already secured 2 weeks completed day of service, but those weeks they've got conditions that the airline will have to depose some of assets. And now, currently, what is going to happen into the new airline is that we are going to be vigilant. One, we are going to be involved into the formative stage in terms of the new company. Two, we are going to make sure that we are represented into the board formation. We need to have a seat in the board for decision making. Three, our employment conditions should not be less favorable. So these employees who would have received the severance packages, they must be given preference in terms of the new airline. Okay. We will endeavor to ensure that most of our members are in the new airline.
All right, Mashudu, I'm well over time on this interview, but I just want to know from you very quickly, you trust the process of the business rescue practitioners, because we see there's a lot of distrust when it comes to the other two unions about their process and the information coming. I gather that you are okay with the process, you are okay with the people who are handling that process.
No, I think, let me correct you, ma'am. The National Transport Movement is the trade union that is registered in terms of the Act. So we understand that if there's a formal process, which process is the business rescue process, we must be active in ensuring that interests of employees are dealt with. Okay. Now, on the issue of the government or the shareholder, we trust that process because the government is an owner of this business. So we cannot pick and choose which one do we attend, which one we do not attend. We need to make sure that we are protecting the interest of our members fully.
All right, thanks very much for that. And we'll continue to keep an eye on the story. That's the National Transport Movement President, Mashudu Raphetha.